Right, so this weekend it is UFC Kansas City. Ian Garry taking on Carlos Prates. And the main event is heating up. These two are going back and forth. They're talking a lot of shit. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on the main event. On the co-main event, of course, it's Anthony Lionheart-Smith. Final fight, maybe. Who knows? Maybe he gets a big win and decides to continue in his career. His very long career, mind you. He's had almost 60 professional fights, and I'm going to give you predictions on who I think wins these fights. So, first of all, let's talk about Ian Garry and Carlos Prates. Now, as we know, Ian Garry, up until his final fight, the man was undefeated, 15-0. Of course, he went in a #1 contender matchup against Shavkat Rakhmonov. Got pretty much dominated the entirety of the fight, but then in the final round, took his back and it came very close to finishing it and being the #1 contender. But it didn't go his way. So he's back and he's taking on Carlos Prates. Relatively short notice. And whilst Ian Garry can sometimes be a little bit annoying, I gotta say, I enjoy the guy. This is what the sport needs. The sport needs confident, cocky, young, arrogant assholes, okay? I was one. Ian Garry's one. That's what the sport needs. We need people that evoke emotion from us.
Every single one of you is here to see me. I'm going to get my hand raised Saturday night and I'm going to silence every single one of you.
And Ian Garry is that guy, okay? You might love him, you might dislike him, but either way, you want to tune in and watch the guy fight. And then on the flip side, he's taking on Carlos Prates. This man's incredible. 4 fights in 2024, 4 stoppages, beautiful striking, ridiculous knockout power. And the man does it all while smoking 10 to 15 cigarettes per day.
Like normal day, not really, maybe 10, 15 cigarettes. Okay.
So, Ian Garry, like always, talking a bit of shit, calling him a quitter. Now, granted, there is some validity in that. In his 3rd ever professional fight in May 2012, Rafael Nunes, it was a retirement. Now, granted, it was only his 3rd ever professional fight. And who knows, maybe the camp wasn't perfect. Maybe he was tired. Maybe he was smoking too much. Maybe he didn't really train for the fight. However, retirement, it's not good. And it's going to give somebody like Ian Garry a lot of ammunition to talk shit. And of course, Carlos Prates is going to respond, okay? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I like the shit talk. This one is heating up quite nicely. And I wish I was there in Kansas City this weekend. In fact, no, I don't. I'm going to be home. I'm going to be watching with my family. I'll be on the couch with the kids. I'm going to be home. I'd rather have that. But anyway, oh shit. But anyway, let's have a listen here.
I have 2 main events, 4 bonus, 4 knockouts. I knock people out. Ian Garry, what? He's a 4 years in UFC, just 1 bonus, a lot of decisions, never did a main event.
I mean, that's a fair point, to be honest. It is his 2nd main event in succession. He is exciting audiences. He's knocking people out and he's talking a bit of shit. And Ian Garry, he's never had a main event. But of course, Ian Garry, as always, he's got a nice response.
You had a main event in Bleeding the Apex.
In Bleeding the Ape, right? What you talking about? You're having a main event in the Apex. And you know what? Listen, you want to talk shit? That's a good way of doing it. It's a good response. Main eventing anywhere in the world, on the planet, whether it's the Apex or the T-Mobile Arena, okay? It's still an honor. There's still more eyeballs on you. You still got 5-round experience. You're still fighting other main event caliber guys, okay? And the fact is that he got main events, and it's his 2nd one in a row. But Ian Garry was not done talking there.
After I beat his ass up, I need to say, Carlos, thank you so much.
Look, you don't even have to wait till April 26th. I'll say thank you
Here
right
comes
now.
the Portuguese.
Obrigado, mano. Para minha oportunidade é massa você. Abril 26. Okay? Look at me. I'll say it in English now so you can understand it in both languages. Thank you for this opportunity. On the 26th of April, I'm going to smash you. I'm going to finish you. And I'm going to show the world that you're not a true fighter. I'm born to fight. I was born to do this. You're just unlucky it's you. Okay?
Well, I'll tell you what. Fair play to Ian Garry. I'm going to smash you. I'm going to finish you. Again, this is what people want to hear, okay? There's a lot of fighters that are afraid to say that. I remember Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, one of the greatest of all time. I was talking to him. We did a press conference together for one of our fights. I forget which one it was. And he wouldn't say. And I asked him about it. I said, why won't you do that? Why won't you say that you're going to win? Because I always did that. I said, I'm going to smash his head in. Just like Ian Garry. I'm going to finish him. I'm going to knock you out. I'm going to do this, that, and the other, okay? And Mighty Mouse said, yeah, but if I don't do that, I might look stupid. And granted, you might look stupid. And a few times I was made to look stupid. I was put in my place. I was proven wrong, okay? But you got to have the balls to say, you want to sell the fight. You want to hype the audience. You know, you want to get people revved up and give them a reason to want to tune in. And of course, if you like Ian Garry, or if you like me, it's how you truly feel, okay? Because you're a confident bastard, and that's why you're doing this in the first place. So, with all that said, let's talk about the fight. I think Carlos Prates probably wins this fight, okay? My official prediction is that he gets a knockout. I think he gets it done. He hits harder. There's something about his striking. It is beautiful. He's got really, really powerful strikes. He sets it up, and he's not just a puncher. He's not a one-trick pony. Whether it's a knee to the midsection, beautiful kicks, or the hands, they're all powerful. They're all got knockout capability. Of course, Ian Garry's a smooth striker. He's taller, he's longer, he's got more experience. Yeah, he's got a prettier record, because when you look at Carlos Prates, there's a good few losses on there. In fact, there's 6, but he hasn't lost in quite some time. He hasn't lost since 2019. The man's on an absolute tear, and he's knocked everyone out in the UFC. Ian Garry's plan here is going to be to use his length and his footwork to dance around, okay? They've got an opponent in common, Jeff Neal. What happened? Ian Garry beat him by decision. Carlos Prates smoked him, knocked him out in the first round. MMA math doesn't stack up, but it gives you an indication. It gives you an idea sometimes. And sometimes that indication's wrong. Just like when you say, I'm going to knock this guy out, I'm going to finish him, I'm going to make him eat his words, I'm going to make him look stupid, but then you're made to eat your own words. Sometimes MMA math doesn't stack up. But this time, I think it does. I think Ian Garry's plan is going to be to dance around the octagon, and I think over 25 minutes, Carlos Prates is going to cut the cage off, he's going to back him up, and I think he's going to connect. Song Yudong wobbled him back in the day. Michael Venom Page wobbled him a few times, turned Ian Garry into a wrestler. I think based upon that, I've got more confidence going into this fight if I'm backing Carlos Prates. However, Ian Garry could prove me wrong, but the official pick, Carlos Prates, gets the job done early. Got to remember the cigarettes. We've never seen him go 5 rounds, and smoking all those cigarettes every day, that could have an effect on the cardio. It will have an effect on the cardio. If it goes to 3, 4, 5 rounds, Ian Garry should have an advantage there. But you know what? Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised, actually, if Carlos Prates is going 25 minutes at a hard pace. I know lots of people that have smoked throughout their careers, and cardio was never, ever an issue. So you would think on paper, well, Ian's going to have better cardio. But no, it doesn't necessarily work like that. Anyway, moving on. Retirement fight for Anthony Smith going up against Zhang Mingyang. It's a really tough fight for Anthony Smith, okay? And I respect him for taking this matchup. Zhang Mingyang is a young guy. He's 26 years old. He's gigantic for the division. He's super aggressive. He's got knockout power. He's on a 10-fight win streak, and they're all finishes in the very first round. However, he has lost a few times, and those losses came via submissions. And that is where Anthony Smith excels. That's what he's good at. He's a very, very good grappler, and that's going to have to be the key to victory here. I think if he stands with Zhang Mingyang, there's a good chance that he gets finished. Another thing that we've got to talk about for Anthony Smith is that with this being his retirement fight, has he really pushed himself in the gym? Has he really left no stone unturned, got out of bed at the crack of dawn, gone for the runs, doing the conditioning, doing the sparring, really pushing yourself to the extreme because in your final fight, you want to get a win, you want to go out on a high? Or is it, I know this is my final fight, what's the point, right? I don't know. I'm sure Anthony thinks he's been training hard, and maybe he has. But I've never been in that position. My retirement, you know, I didn't have a training camp. I fought Kelvin Gastelum a couple of weeks after I fought George St. Pierre. I said, fuck it, let's go, roll the dice. And then I retired because I knew I was retired anyway. And I didn't have to do a training camp for that. Paul Felder the other day on the podcast, he was talking about this. He didn't go into a final fight thinking this is the one, right? So it's a weird one.
Ultimately, you're saying, hey, this is what I'm sending off my final message to you. I think that's one of the things that's always made me nervous when I was initially thinking about it was, what if I go out and I'm not the same?
How do you still have the same motivation when you know it's your final fight? That regardless, win or lose, the decision is still the same, that you're walking away from the sport. So it's a really, really interesting situation regarding Anthony Smith. Now, when you look at Anthony, there's been a few losses, as we know. Last time out against Dominic Reyes, it was a terrible situation. He lost someone very close, his coach, his friend, and he was very emotional going in. Before that, it was a short notice matchup against Roman Dolidze. He lost that one. Before that, it was a short notice one against Vitor Petrino, and he got a guillotine in the first round. Before that, it was a short notice matchup against Khalil Roundtree, and again, he didn't go his way, and he got stopped. However, this time, it's been a full training camp. But it all comes down to, is he ready? Has he applied himself? If he has, I'm going to say Anthony Smith. It's Kansas City. His family's going to be there. It's kind of like a hometown game. But I tell you what, the first round's going to be dangerous. In the first round, Zhang Mingyang is deadly. He's got extremely fast hands, beautiful boxing, big power as well, and he's not afraid to get in his opponent's face. 2 fights in the UFC, 2 knockouts in the first round. I called his last fight in Macau, and I remember he was doing his interview in Chinese, screaming into the microphone, and I remember standing there looking at him thinking, Jesus, you are a handful. Veins were popping out of his neck. So I'm going to say Anthony Smith. I'm not going to put that negative energy out there, okay? I hope he gets the win, and I truly mean that, but it's not going to be easy. Moving on, Giga Chikadze taking on David Onama. Giga Chikadze, a phenomenal striker, the owner of the Giga kick. It's a beautiful combination. It's a beautiful kick to the body. He's an incredible kickboxer going up against David Onama. Not a slick on the feet. He has got some decent wrestling. I think Giga Chikadze takes this one there. Giga gets the win. Probably gets a knockout, I think. Before that, Michel Pereira taking on Abus Magomedov. Of course, Michel Pereira is going to do 25 backflips on his way to the octagon. The problem is sometimes he runs out of gas, runs out of speed. Abus Magomedov, that guy's no walk in the park either. Beautiful wrestling. We saw that last time out against Bruno Ferreira. Smashed a double leg. Got the finish by arm triangle in the third round. But he's had some losses in the UFC to Sean Strickland and Kyle Borhaya. Championship caliber. I think Abus Magomedov gets the job done there. Before that, we've got Randy Brown taking on Nicolas Dalby, 2 of the nicest guys in all the sport. Rude boy Randy Brown's awesome. Nicolas Dalby is just a sweetheart of a human being, but they're both incredible fighters. Randy Brown's taller, he's longer, he's maybe a cleaner striker. Nicolas Dalby's awesome. I don't like picking a winner here because they're both great. I love talking to both of them, but I've got to pick one. I do think it's probably going to be Nicolas Dalby because I think he's got more ways to win. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but I'm going to say Dalby. I'm sorry, Randy, if you see this. And then, of course, we've got Ikram Aliskerov taking on Andre Muniz. Last time we saw Ikram, we know what happened there. Got knocked out against Robert Whittaker in devastating fashion in Saudi Arabia. It only took Robert 1 minute 49. However, before that, he was on a tear. He was 15-1. He was looking like championship caliber. Is he going to come back? Has he learned from that? Or is there skeletons in the closet? Is there psychological trauma from that knockout against Robert Whittaker? Sometimes fighters don't recover from that. Sometimes they're never the same ever again. But Andre Muniz, this guy, 24-6. He's lost to Paul Craig. He's lost to Brendan Allen, both via his speciality, which is kind of jiu-jitsu. Paul Craig got on top and just elbowed him to death. Brendan Allen was able to take him down and rear naked choking. Yeah, he's beating people like Uriah Hall and Eric Anders. He's a good little wrestler. He's got world-class jiu-jitsu, but I think Ikram Aliskerov is going to be too much for him. So there you go. There's my picks for the main card. What do we think about Ian Garry versus Carlos Prates? As I said at the start of the video, I love it when they talk shit like this. You love it when they talk shit like this. That's why people remember you. And that's what this sport needs. You've got to be confident enough to say, I'm going to win, okay? And it's even better when they talk a little bit of shit. I'm looking forward to it. UFC Kansas City is going to be a good one. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and ring the bell. Members videos going up almost daily as well. So subscribe to that program. You guys take care. See you soon.